submission. I'm Christy Birchville, and we're talking about 1 Peter chapter 3. And if you're anything like me, when you hear that word, especially connected with anything religious, biblical connotations, whatever, it tends to make just a little bit of a shiver and kind of a, clench going, oh dear, where are we going with this? We're looking today at 1 Peter chapter 3, verses 1 through 7. And I'm going to be real right now and tell you there are a lot of people that I know that really kind of wish these 7 verses weren't in the Bible. And that includes men and women, both. The idea of submission in our day and age and in our culture so often has negative connotations. It's come to imply a somehow lesser than status, or at least that's what we tend to conceptualize and think about when we hear the word and think about submission. We see submission as somehow being weak and unimportant. And so when we read verses like 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 1, a lot of people really get frustrated. The verses I picked out for today are actually 1 Peter 3:1 and verse 7. We're going to read the first part of both of those verses because they parallel each other. So verse 1 says, "Wives, in the same way, submit yourselves to your husbands." Verse 7, "Husbands, in the same way, be considerate as you live with your wives and treat them with respect." When I read these verses, I've seen people take these verses out of context and use them to kind of talk about their own things, which is why I actually wanted both of these verses in here. You see, Peter gives instructions to women, and he also gives instructions to men. I've seen men use this verse as a reason to oppress the women in their lives, but they skip over verse 7 and the idea of loving them and treating them with respect and consideration. They don't grasp that concept. So let's be real right now. Husbands and wives are different. God created them differently with different roles, different purposes, but both are absolutely necessary. People don't have to ultimately like what Scripture says about the role of a man and a woman in marriage. There's a lot of people in the day and time that don't agree with what Scripture has to say. But there's also a lot of things in the Bible that people just don't like. It doesn't change the truth of what the relationship is and how God has established that marriage should be between a man and a woman. The woman needs to build up her husband and allow him to lead the way as God intended him to. The man needs to support, encourage, champion, and cheer on his wife the way God designed the marriage relationship to be. We saw yesterday that Christ is our example. And if you've missed any of the previous sessions, you can click on the link in the description below. That will take you to the full playlist, and you can see that just in the verses right prior to this, we're talking about Christ being our example. And he's our example in this as well. We are to submit ourselves to God, every single one of us. That was what Peter was talking about in the verses prior to this. That has to happen first and foremost. As we are doing that, then we will do, just like the Scripture says in both of those verses, in the same way. In the same way. Wives, in the same way. Husbands, in the same way. It's in the same way as how Christ has responded to us. Treat ourselves and each other the way God would have us. If we're married, our marriage relationship will be a direct reflection of our relationship with Christ. If we struggle to submit to our husbands, or if we struggle to respect our wives, we will struggle to submit to God, and we will struggle to respect God's position of authority in our life. These go hand in hand. Christ is our example. Marriage is to be a visual representation of our relationship with God. If we're really honest with ourselves, is our relationship with our spouse as good as it should be and could be based on how our relationship with God should be and could be. What do you need to address in your relationship today? What are some understandings and maybe even some repenting that needs to happen as a result of this? Now, again, I realize this is not a popular opinion, and there'll be plenty of people, I'm sure, who don't agree. But there it is in Scripture in black and white. I do look forward to your comments, and make sure you like and subscribe, so I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks.